See, this or statement right here is saying this can be true or this can be true, and I'll execute this code. This and statement down here, this is saying if this is true, and this must also be true, and then I will execute the codes that follows. If this was false and this was true, this would not run. So that is that. So both of these statements have to be true for an and statement to be true. If one of them is false, it's a no-go. So table insert. So we're doing something with the table and we're adding something to it. We're going to pass it in the lady player parameter. We're going to pass it in the screen man. I don't know what that is, but it's going to get the top of the screen. So it's probably getting how tall the screen is. And then get child. I don't know what get child is, but referring to player 1. So this is identifying a structure. So screen man is something that is probably controlling the screen. It's going to run a function, and inside that function also belongs to that. So this is all one big long line of code right here. You can see how this parentheses is passing in player 1, this parentheses is passing in nothing. And then all of that belongs to that because of that. It's all encapsulated in those parentheses. This does the same thing for player 2. And then it sets checked equal to true. So this will no longer run the next time it goes through because checked is now true. Screen man, get top of screen, child overlay. So yeah, I don't know what overlay is specifically doing, but and then it's running another function called hidden and it's passing it 1. Then it does it again. And then it's running another loop for V in pairs of lady player. If V then do this, it's probably seeing, this is probably checking your current score, how many life you have. I'm not sure. You're going to have to, you would know better than I would on what score P and life P are. 5:10, I'm going to have to go get my kids soon. But all of this belongs together. But this is, the whole point that I'm trying to pass off is to demystify some of this. Screen man is running a function, and then it's pairing that with something else. That's another function, and it's pairing that with another function. All three of these things are probably required for the screen man. So you're going to have to look up what screen man is. Sample, very important. Do not, boom, forget about incrementing FG current command. That is referring back up to this guy up here. So right now it's set to 1 and it's saying don't forget to increment it outside of the for loop block. So don't increment it in here. You got to increment it outside. So you can see how the for loop here runs and then it ends and then it increments it. So while we're here, we'll just talk about it. This is current value is 1 because we haven't changed it to anything. So it's saying take its current value right here, which is 1, and increment it by 1. So now it becomes 2. So it takes 1 plus 1 and sets 2 into the variable field. The next time that this runs through, this will be 2, so it'll say take 2 plus 1 and store that back into itself. So this will now be 3. The next time it'll be 4. The next time it'll be 5, etc., etc. So let's talk about this block of code. So if the beat is greater than or equal to 162 and FG current command equals to 1, so if this is true and this is true, then it'll do this code. Now, once we increment this, this will no longer be true. This probably won't get run. I mean, it might not get run again, but I'm not sure. But we'll increment it. This will now be 2. So this line of code will not run again because even if this beat is true, the FG current command will equal 2 and this will fail. This code right here, all of this inside the if statement won't run. So it's only going to do it once. So for each in lady player, if V, you're going to set V linear. So this is a field inside of linear. So this is probably a collection, like I said. Inside that collection, it has these fields inside of it, and it's setting all of that. So this is probably setting the thing in the collection. So whatever this is doing, this is most likely doing the same thing. So linear is 0.60, rotation X is 360, sleep 2, linear rotation Z is 360, rotation X and Z is 0. I don't know why it would set them back to 0, because this rotation X has to be the same as this rotation X. This sleep has to be the same as this sleep. So maybe it's doing 3 separate commands. It's doing that, and then it does that, and then it sets everything back to 0. It might be doing that funky, wavy stuff up in here. I'm not sure. You would have to play with these values and see what happens. Beat specific stuff. So, in between these beats, this block will activate every update. So an update is every frame. So that's 50 times every second. So every beat, this code will most likely run 50 times. So yeah, something to keep in mind. So in between these beats, this block will activate every update, every frame 50 times. So yeah, it's a timing thing. So the CPU runs really, really fast, and they've set it here to run every frame at 50 times a second. Think of it like a movie's at 24 frames a second, you get a moving picture. Same type of thing, but this runs much faster at 50 times a second. 1080p at 60 frames. The frames should be running at 60 times a second. AUX var get AUX, sure, is being manipulated by the actor's commands. So the actor is probably referring to you, the player, not sure, which are being activated by the message table above, which is probably this, wherever it said it was talking about a table, this. And an updated value is being used here. Technically, there is no tweening. So tweening, I don't know how it applies to Lua, but the only other time I've heard of tweening is in Adobe Flash and animation. So a tween is I have one state of a person here, and then they tween to a different frame where they're doing something else. So the tween is that action in between. They use it a lot in 2D art, and you have your keyframe where the person is striking their both pose, and then they have the second frame where they're completed doing that. The tweens are all the frames in between. So there is no need to worry about tween overflowing. So I don't know exactly what that means, but hopefully that definition of tweening applies. In this example, this equation, maybe I'm supposed to say equation, oscillates the X position of the play fields to the beat of the song. So the X position is obviously the left-right, so maybe that's how it's swinging back and forth. If beat is greater than 64 and it's less than 96, so these are probably referring to something specific because it's hard-coded, and then do this code. And we've talked about the ifs and the loops, but it's setting the X to the screen center X, which is probably going to be right here in the middle of your screen. And then it's doing a math function. So it's running a math function of sine. A sine wave goes like this. So it's beat times the math pi divided by 2. This sounds just like the math. This is going to be 3.14. Divide that number by 2. So you're going to take the beat. So if the beat was 50, it's going to times it by pi divided by 2. And then it's going to times all of that result. It's going to times it all by the AUX variable get AUX. So I don't know what get AUX is doing, but it's going to do this function, and then it's going to evaluate this, timesing it, and then it's going to store all of that back to the X plus. So this is probably how it's moving the screen back and forth. And then it's going to end, and it's doing all of this 50 times a second. So that's that. Message reader to make specific values of the actor AUX. So it's applying the current message, which is going to be the same thing as the current message.